All right, you guys, in life, you're not going to get equations. You're not going to be just, your boss not's going to come to you and say, here's an equation, please solve it. So what's really going to happen is you're going to have some kind of problem in your life, or you're going to have to figure out something. And not that it's going to be written out as a word problem either, but that's basically, it's more realistic to be a word problem. And so in order to do some of these word problems, you could probably think it through and figure it out. But what I want you to work at right now is how can you write an equation first and then solve it from there. And the nice thing about that is you're not forgetting anything, you're thinking about everything before you start, and then all you have to do is the math. So I have 3 problems here that I want us to look over, and you're going to be doing problems like this in class, so make sure you're carefully following along. And if you want, you could pause it right now, try and do this problem yourself, and then follow along and see if you do it right, which is actually a really good idea, to try and do it first and then go along. So here we have Frederico as a salesman for Oompa Loompa clothing. His base salary is $21,000. What that means is if he didn't sell a stitch of clothing, he would make $21,000 that year. But then he earns commission. So he earns a 5% commission on sales. Now, if you don't know what that is, commission means if you sold something for $100 to someone else. So an Oompa Loompa came in, wanted to buy some clothes, and they bought $100 worth of clothes. You would take that times 5%, remember we make that into a decimal, and you would earn $5. So for that day, for that moment, you earned an extra $5 besides the $21,000 you're already making. Now, this Frederico, he actually makes 5% on all his sales. And his goal, apparently, if we continue reading, he earns 5% commission on sales, and then it says how much must he sell to earn $65,000. So he wants to earn for the year $65,000, which means he wants to know how much clothing do I have to sell to these Oompa Loompas? How much money do they have to spend so that I can make $65,000? Well, first off, whenever you have a problem, you got to say, okay, what's my variable? What don't I know? Okay, we'll call that X. So what don't we know? We don't know how much he has to sell in Oompa Loompa clothing. Now remember what happens when you have Oompa Loompa clothing? When he sells X dollars, he gets 5% of that. So we're going to take 0.05 times X, because that's how much he's going to make off of that Oompa Loompa clothing. Remember, X is how much Oompa Loompa clothing he sells. Take that times 5%, because that's his commission. But then remember, we're also adding on the $21,000 that he already makes, no matter if he sells nothing. So we have here, we have his commission, and then we have his base salary. If we add those things together, it'll tell us how much he makes for the year, and he wants to make $65,000. So now that our equation's set up, we just go ahead and solve. Get rid of the $21,000. So we get 0.05x. These guys cancel out, equals 44,000. Divide by 0.05. X equals $880,000. So he would have to sell almost $1 million worth of Oompa Loompa clothes in order to make $65,000 for the year. And we're done. Okay. Now this next one is going to be a common one, and ones that you guys typically actually put up on the board and ask me to solve. But I want you to think about this, okay? You plan to enlarge, mat, and frame a 5x7 photo. So you're taking a photo and you're going to make it bigger. We're going to enlarge it. We're going to make it bigger, then we're going to put a mat on it, and then we're going to put a frame. Remember that mat is that stuff in between the frame and the picture? A lot of times that you have, if you look at the picture on my wall of the calculator, I have a white mat surrounding it before the frame hits it. And then it goes on to describe that the mat will be 1.5 inches wide on all sides, and the perimeter of the framed photo will be 42 inches. Now, if you're like me, you're looking at this going, oh my gosh, it sounds like a lot of work, there's a lot of detail, I really don't want to do this problem, and to be honest, I don't either. But don't tell anybody I said that. What we're going to do is we're going to draw ourselves a picture so we get an idea of what's going on. So first off, we have our picture that we're making bigger. Okay, it used to be a 5x7, but now it's more. In fact, if we look at it, the question says, by what % should you enlarge the photo? Now think about it. If I'm going to enlarge something, if I'm going to double something, I would take 5 times 2 and 7 times 2. If I was going to enlarge it by, let's say, 150%, I would take 5 times 1.5 and 7 times 1.5. So on this one, I don't know the percent. It's asking me for what percent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 5 times the percent and 7 times that same percent. Well, since we don't know the percent, x is going to be the percent. And so to label this picture, the bottom side is no longer going to be 5, it's going to be 5x, because we got to take it times the percent. And the tall, it's not going to be 7 anymore, it's going to be 7x, because we're taking it times the percent. So now this picture is my new photo, it's been enlarged. Then we add on the mat and the frame. Now according to this problem, the mat is 1.5 inches wide. So on each side it's 1.5 inches wide. Okay. Now, go back up to the problem. It says the perimeter of the framed photo is 42 inches. So if I take and add up all the sides out here, if I add them all up, I want that to add up to 42. In order to do that, I need to know what whole side is. So if I look at just this side here, this side contains the photo and the mat on each side. So in order to figure that out, this side right here is the 1.5 on the left plus the photo plus the 1.5 on the right. When I combine my like terms, I get 3 plus 5x. Okay, then if I go to this side here, this is going to be, let's start at the top, 1.5 for the mat plus 7x for the photo plus the bottom 1.5. Add my like terms together, I get 3 plus 7x. So the perimeter equals, okay, let's look at this. I'm going to add up the bottom. Look at the bottom. The bottom and the top are both 3 plus 5x. So I have two groups of those, that's multiplication. Two groups of 3 plus 5x. And then now I have the sides. I have this side and this side. We've already found it's 3 plus 7x. There's two groups of it, so 2 times 3 plus 7x. Now we are told the perimeter is actually 42. So instead of a p, we're going to put a 42 there. And now it's just time to solve the problem. Okay, just like before, I'm going to take that 2 and I'm going to distribute. So we get 6 plus 10x plus, I distribute the 2, and I get 6 plus 14x. Combine my like terms. 6 plus 6 is 12. 10x plus 14x is 24x. And continue to solve. Subtract 12 from both sides. We get 30 equals 24x. Divide by 24. And we get 1.25. Now the question was, what percent should we enlarge the photo? So we're going to say 125%. We should enlarge it by 125%. All right, one more problem. This one should be pretty simple. A restaurant server earns a base salary of $6 per hour plus tips. If he averages $12 per hour in tips, how many hours must he work to earn a total of $333? Well, let's just first off talk about what don't we know. We don't know how many hours. So let's just use H. H stands for the number of hours. Now let's go to his base salary, $6 per hour. So I'm going to take 6 times the number of hours, and that's how much he's going to make in base salary. Plus we have tips. He averages $12 per hour in tips. So we need to take 12 times H also, because it's $12 per hour, and if he works H hours, he'd make 12 times H dollars. And it says that they want it to total to $333. So that should equal 333. And then this will be pretty simple to solve. Add 6 plus 12, we get 18H equals 333. Divide by 18, H equals 18.5 hours.